Chapter 9, Part 5, Church Creeds and the Roman Empire. Quote, "The doctrine that Jesus was God the Son was decreed by worldly and ecclesiastical powers. Men were forced to accept it at the point of a sword. Christianity became, in essence, like Babylonian heathenism with only a veneer of Christian names." Forgers of the Word, Victor Paul Weirwilly, 1983, page 2. We now embark upon the study of the means by which the pagan compromised 4th century Church of Rome, with the complicity of the emperor, forced the Trinity upon Christianity under threat of death. Background. Early in the 4th century, the Roman Empire was the dominant world power. During the reign of Constantine, 306 to 337 AD, a theological rift was developing among Christians, who comprised an ever-growing portion of his subjects. The Battle of the Bishops, as represented by the teachings of the Roman Church Bishop Athanasius, the contra-biblical idea of Jesus as God was gaining ground among Christians. Another bishop, Arius, challenged this idea, insisting that the Bible portrayed Jesus as having been created by God and as being in all ways inferior and subordinate to him. The beliefs espoused by Arius had prevailed initially, but the conflict was now reaching epidemic proportions and threatening to destabilize the empire. The Council of Nicaea. Constantine determined to put an end to it, lest the empire become weakened to the point where it would be vulnerable to external attack. He convened a council of church bishops at Nicaea, Italy, to develop an official empiric position. His intention was to produce a creed and enforce it among Roman Christians, thus ending the potentially devastating division this conflict was producing in his empire. A closer look. Although we have already been introduced to the Council of Nicaea and its main players, Emperor Constantine and the Bishop Arius and Athanasius, I would like this chapter to stand on its own, and so, to that end, I would like for us to revisit these characters and events in greater detail. Constantine, a pagan military genius and a ruthless politician. Quote, Constantine appears to have been a sun worshipper. After his professed acceptance of Christianity, he built a triumphal arch to the sun god and set up a statue of the same sun god bearing his own features. He was finally deified, declared to be a god, after his death by official edict in the empire. A History of Christianity, 1976, Paul Johnson, page 147. Quote, probably the most obvious indication that Constantine was not truly converted may be seen from the fact that after his conversion, he committed several murders, including the murder of his own wife and son. Babylon Mystery Religion, 1981, R. Woodrow, page 55. Constantine recognized the political advantage in portraying himself to be a Christian, but his actions belied his words. He was, in fact, a pagan sun worshipper whose primary concern was the stability of his empire. Quote, Constantine, like his father, worshipped the unconquered sun. His conversion should not be interpreted as an inward experience of grace. It was a military matter. He was sure that victory in battle lay in the gift of the God of the Christians. The Early Church, Henry Chadwick, 1993, pages 122 and 125. He had very little understanding of the theological questions at issue. Quote, Constantine himself, of course, neither knew nor cared anything about the matter in dispute, but he was eager to bring the controversy to a close. A History of Christian Thought, A. McGiffert, 1954, Volume 1, page 258. Quote, Constantine had no understanding of the theological issues. The History of God, Karen Armstrong. Quote, whether Constantine appreciated the niceties of the questions at issue is highly doubtful, for he was a layman, a warrior, and an administrator, not a philosopher or an expert theologian. A History of Christianity, Volume 1, 1997, Kenneth Scott Latourette. This pagan sun-god-worshipping emperor, feigning Christian beliefs as a matter of political expediency and willing to murder even his own flesh and blood to retain power, took the leading role in guiding the decisions of the council at Nicaea. Quote, the emperor himself was present and dominated the proceedings. A History of the Christian Church, Wilson Walker, 1985. Quote, Constantine proposed the crucial formula of one substance with the Father. Overawed by the emperor, the bishops, with two exceptions only, signed the creed, many of them against their inclination. Encyclopedia Britannica, 1968. Athanasius versus Arius. Quote, if any writing composed by Arius should be found, it shall be handed over to the flames. If someone should be discovered to have hidden a writing composed by Arius, his penalty shall be death. Edict by Emperor Constantine against the Arians, 333 AD. The writings of Arius were burned, but there are letters which clarify his position. Quote, God is absolutely alone, without beginning. The Son was not in existence before his generation, but came into existence from the Father. He is neither eternal, nor co-eternal, nor co-unbegotten with the Father. Confession of Faith from Arius and his followers to Bishop Alexander of Alexandria. Quote, we are persecuted because we say that the Son has a beginning, but that God is without beginning. Letter from Arius to Eusebius, Bishop of Nicomedia, 318. Constantine forces the Athanasian view upon the council. Quote, a large majority of bishops of Asia appear to have favored Arius's cause. The Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire, Volume 2, Edward Gibbon, page 493. Quote, very few would have shared Athanasius's view of Christ. Athanasius managed to impose his theology on the delegates, with the emperor breathing down their necks. A History of God, Karen Armstrong, page 110. Quote, the controversial term defining the Son as consubstantial, homoousios, with the Father, was introduced by Constantine. The term was objectionable to the great majority of the Eastern bishops, but they dared not challenge the emperor. The rise of Christianity 1985, W.H.C. Friend. Quote, the definition of the Son, which was championed by Athanasius, who lived in Egypt, applies to the trinities of all heathen religions, Egyptian belief, and modern thought, James Bonwick, 1878, page 396. Quote, adopted under pressure from the emperor, the phrases not made and of the same substance with the Father were bitterly denounced by many. Man's Religions, 1968, John B. Noss,